Coming up, everybody, Marshall and Paul with the call. Take it away, boys.
And thank you, Maria. Welcome back to the booth here at the new Capenna Championship. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. Paul, in the future, we've got a league fight, MPL versus Rivals, though the pressure in this match really does lie with him. Logan Nettles coming in as the second place for that World Championship seat. Between the leagues, 5 players from after the end of this tournament will have a seat at the World Championship. And Logan Nettles was set to be number 2. As it stands, he's 3-3, so is Sam Pardee coming in. And Logan needs to win this match to make it to day 2 so he can try to pile up more points tomorrow and secure one of those seats. If he doesn't, it's about over for him as far as any World Championship stuff goes.
Yeah, he's going to have basically no shot of making it into the World Championship. Now, of course, this is a big match for both players, right? This is a win into day 2, but Logan certainly with a much higher chance of making it into that World Championship if he makes it into day 2, because he's just going to need to win a handful of matches, whereas Sam would have to make it all the way into the top 6 to qualify for the World Championship.
Yeah, just like as a contrast, Sam Pardee was 32nd in the league coming in, right in the leagues, right? So he wasn't really in range of that top 5. Now, of course, any player that makes it to day 2 could put together an insane run and make their way into top 8 and then into top 6 to make it. So of course, there's always something on the line for both. But if we had to pick here, it would be Logan who's really feeling the pressure this round. He's in an Izzet mirror. Now, these aren't a perfect mirror. These players do have different builds of Izzet, but they're not that different, as you can see even right now. Multiple cards lining up here with each other.
Yeah. And even from the get-go here, Logan with some tricky sequencing decisions to make there, deciding whether or not to go double channeler into opt, but choosing to get both channelers into play, get maximum value. Really wants to hit a land here, but gets lots of looks here. Do you want to take the chance of not being able to find a land? So normally you just would bin that land right away, but here I think it's too important to have, and this is a great iteration here. You're going to be able to go land and also have the Flame Blessed Bolt here to get Sam's Dragon Rage Channel off the battlefield.
Yeah, really tough here for Sam. Not having access to red mana for that other land meant that he didn't get to use his removal spell. All he did for the turn was cast Dragon's Rage Channeler. He will get to consider or opt if he'd like, but boy, you can see that Logan's the one who's off to the quick start here.
Now, Sam does have a bunch of cheap spells in hand, and he's got 2 Phoenixes in hand, right? So if he can find a Faithless Looting...
Oh, God.
Could potentially see many Phoenixes come into play next turn.
Oh, that would be so big for him. He put the card in the yard. Oh, and he found Expressive Iteration. That could give him a chance, though, to do it all.
Right.
Let's see if he can find it. All right, there's a land.
Yeah, we might see Sam even lead out with an opt here if he wants to potentially try to find a Faithless Looting. Normally, you'd want, right now, turn 3, this is the ideal time to go iteration into land into spell, but he's going for the opt here.
Look at this. It's Unholy Heat that he sees on top of his library. He's not interested. Oh, and it's another land.
Looting. Right, so now gonna go ahead and use the heat to get one of the channelers off the battlefield. And then likely just gonna see a land pass.
Okay, so he's stemming the bleeding. That did, however, turn on the other Dragon's Rage Channeler. It's now got Delirium. It's also, of course, doing its passive effect, which is just as important as when it attacks. It has a major effect. Oh, look at that. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. There's an opt that he gets to cast here off of Expressive Iteration, and Logan Nettles is really going off here.
Yeah, Fable, an interesting decision here in the Izzet Phoenix deck. Typically not a card you see in this configuration, but hey, we've seen kind of Fable just show up in basically any deck with mountains at this point, so just can't rule it out ever.
Yeah, he's got 2 copies of it. Sam doesn't have any. Ooh, there's a nice thing to copy. I'm thinking a few turns down the road here, Paul, but give me some copies of Crackling Drake. I'm interested.
I mean, just Drake by itself is just a very strong card in the matchup.
It
The 4
sure
toughness, being able to block the Phoenixes, also just presents lethal damage by itself.
Oh, he actually hit. He free
Oh.
rolled on this opt, and bingo! It was in fact a Phoenix on top of the library.
Jeez.
It could only be that card to be relevant here, but it was, and he gets to get back an Arclight Phoenix, and that's massive. Now he gets to attack for 6 rather than just 3.
Right, now Sam's
What
going
a
to need
hit.
to find that Faithless Looting here to kind of match what Logan's trying to do.
Yeah, he's going to be digging aggressively. He bottomed and found Symmetry
Oh!
Stage into Faithless
Oh!
Looting. There it is.
Needs another cheap spell, but he whiffs. But he can still
Oh.
find it with the Faithless Looting, right?
Oh, that's
So
right,
you have
of
the Faithless
course.
Looting. You want to run out the land here, or yeah, this works as well. Want to find a 1-mana spell here.
He did. He
Oh!
found Unholy Heat.
Yeah, and that is the best possible, right? You have the Unholy Heat, you kill the Dragon's Rage Channeler, and you
Oh,
put 2
it-
Phoenixes into play.
Yeah, it looks like it's on not quite Delirium.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if killing the Phoenix is
Oh,
great,
he's just going to
but-
try to find another Phoenix?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he wasn't
Right.
interested in killing the
Okay.
Phoenix, so oh man. Well, he's gonna have to lean on the Phoenixes that are in the yard. He's got 2 of them. Hey,
Now,
they
question
block
is-
just fine too.
Right, that's the thing. That was what I was going to ask. Do you just keep them back?
Yeah.
And given that Sam's at 10 life, does make sense, has the ability to kind of get them back from the graveyard with what he has in hand.
This is the hold moment, right? This is where Sam Pardee's just hoping that at least one Phoenix can hold off the onslaught here from Nettles. Nettles,
And remember-
interestingly, has no interaction in his hand right now. He does have a lot of action, just not interaction.
And remember, this Dragon's Rage Channeler does have to attack.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting options here for Logan Nettles. You could choose to run out that Drake, right? You can go Drake opt. You can also iteration, maybe just look to find some removal effects. The removal, of course, not especially good against Arclight Phoenix,
Temporarily it works, but
right?
there's an
Okay.
Unholy Heat.
Probably don't need the land, as you have one in hand.
Yeah, you're right. Let's see if he just takes the opt. No, he did
Okay,
go for
just
the
goes
land.
for the land. He's just running out Fable.
Yeah, so he's going to slow things down a little bit here
Oh,
and go for the high upside play. He finds Soul Guide Lantern. He leaves that one on top. Now, this does means that his channeler is just going to trade for a Phoenix, which is not really where Logan wants to be, as that Phoenix is likely to jump right back on the battlefield here on Sam's turn. Still, you can see Logan setting up for the future. That Fable of the Mirror Breaker set to go to Chapter 2 next turn. And he's not under any major pressure. He's at 18.
yeah. Sam will be able to deal with the 2/2. Probably don't want to kill the Phoenix. Going to see a
Also
lot of back
noteworthy-
and forth here. And we might see the play that you were excited about at some point.
Oh man, if he actually does it.
I mean, to be fair though, the Phoenix deck just does have 7 to 8 1-mana removal spells. If
Yeah.
it gets to that position, likely going to see a removal spell pointed at the Reflection or the Crackling Drake.
True. Why did you have to speak the truth like that, Paul? That really bummed me out.
Sorry for ruining your hopes and dreams here.
Yeah. You got my hopes up, and then you're like, but actually.
But
He
actually,
did leave this Arclight Phoenix back, by the way. Logan Nettles last turn only attacked with the Dragon's Rage Channeler, so you got to assume he's interested in blocking here.
Interesting 1-1 split there. Logan very likely to get this back next turn. And the Soul Guide Lantern, main deck, by the way.
Yeah, good point.
Main deck. So Logan ready for the mirror here.
People often overcompensate for the mirror, but when you're playing Phoenix, you probably should.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is an opt into a Phoenix? Does he have a way to Did you?
Yeah,
right
well,
there?
he can now pitch the Phoenix to the
that was
Fable
upkeep.
trigger.
I did not
So
see
great,
that. Oh,
great sequencing there.
fantastic stuff from Nettles, playing real clean here.
And now he's going to be able to use the heat, kill Phoenix, then cast Soul Guide Lantern, and permanently exile the Phoenixes if Sam ever threatens to get those Phoenixes back into play.
Yeah. It's crazy because a lot of times that delayed trigger on the Phoenix is actually a big benefit, but there are times where it really lets your opponent know exactly what you're capable of doing. And once the triggers go up, they can just wipe out your yard.
So we have Opt. We've cast an Opt already.
That was upkeep.
So if we just run out Faithless Looting and the Unholy Heat, you're going to get your Phoenix back. Oh, and there's a little spicy piece of tech as well here from Logan Nettles. One copy of the rebalanced Demilich.
Did they rebalance it to 1 mana?
I think they added a toughness. But,
Okay, yeah. A little less aggressive. Still incredible in the yard there. Take a look at the Demilich. He just has the 1, but what more do you need?
Yeah,
right.
They rebalanced it to 0 apparently now.
Yeah, it's getting lower by the minute. Didn't see enough play, so they just took the mana cost off of it. See how that pans out. In the meantime, both Phoenix back on the battlefield here for Nettles, and he's going to bash in there with the team.
And this is going to seal the deal right here.
Yeah, and you see the nod of resignation there from Sam Pardee. Says, yep, that was the one I needed you to not have.
Yeah, it's a one of, by the way. That's Soul Guide Lantern. Logan's got a nice mix of all kinds of one-ups. I mean, we're looking at a Demilich, 1 Crackling Drake, 1 Soul Guide Lantern. I mean, this deck does do a good job of kind of churning through your deck. So, and also looting, right? So you find, oftentimes you will find these cards because you get to dig so deep. And if it's not good in a particular matchup, you can just loot it away.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sometimes people will include one-ofs that are particularly good in certain matchups, or particularly good if you draw one of, but really bad if you draw a second one. But they'll do it in decks where they can't really search it up or they don't see that many cards. And I always think, yeah, okay, maybe you're just trying to get lucky or whatever. But this makes a lot of sense here just with the number of cards you get to see. I mean, every single turn you play with this deck, you're seeing 3, 4, 5 cards. Yeah, a bunch of them go to the graveyard, but, in this case, the Demilich was better in the yard anyway.
Right. But then you draw the Soul Guide Lantern in the mirror, and all of a sudden, I mean...
Brutal spot here for Pardee. He's forced to fire off Unholy Heat on Demilich. That forces the issue from Nettles. He does have the backup Unholy Heat that he could use to finish it off, but it's way too late, and he's going to scoop him up. That's Logan Nettles feeling an intense sense of relief as he picks up game number 1, trying to keep his run for the World Championship alive. He has to win this match to do so. He's had a bumpy day, 3-3. This happens all the time. You're playing against some of the best players in the world. A 3-3 start is very common, but he doesn't have any wiggle room left. This round, he's got to win to make day 2.
Yeah, I mean, it is completely on him. And like you said, despite his rough start at 3-3, he's still 4th.
He's still 4th in that? Oh, wow.
Yeah, if we stopped, he would be qualified for the World Championship. So he needs to keep this run going.
And that's the thing, right? Is that what would happen is if he loses here, he's locked in at the points that he has in 4th. But any players that make it to day 2 now have a fresh 8 rounds to pick up more match points, and they can start passing him while he wouldn't have anything to say about it. If he can get through and keep up even a decent clip, he can keep himself in the conversation and maybe even secure that seat. But without the opportunity to pick up those points on day 2, he'll just be dead in the water. And he has to win this game or next to keep that alive. This is a lot of pressure for, day 1 of a set championship.
Also, I kind of want to, if this is how Sam sideboarded, I mean, this is a radical sideboard plan. He boarded out all the Phoenixes, all the lootings, and basically anything that has anything to do with the graveyard, knowing that Logan has access to a lot of graveyard hate, and has basically turned into blue-red spells control.
Wow. So he's assuming that Logan wants to bring in the 4 copies of Hidetsugu Consumes All that he has there, and Sam is just looking to sidestep it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, you have the Soul Guide Lanterns, you have the hearse, which is almost certainly going to come in, right? And then it's also possible that Logan may bring in the Consumes All. Unlikely, just because I don't know if a 3-mana Exile Graveyard is necessarily good enough. I think Logan will at least start out by boarding in the artifacts, which have a few more applications. Okay. But Sam just doesn't want to play the game of, hey, I'm going to rely on my graveyard. Faithless Looting, if you're not getting back the Phoenixes, I mean, you're down a card, right? When you're casting a card like that. So
totally.
Sam just choosing to instead just choose to play kind of an Izzet mid-range strategy here. And we'll see how it pans out for him.
That is awesome from Sam Pardee. Let's see how it turns out. You can see both players look like they're on some type of Izzet mid-range deck at this point. In fact, Sam's the one with the Soul Guide Lantern at the ready. Some of the cards to really look out for when the players tend to change over or go towards the middle / controlling end of things are cards like Expressive Iteration. A lot of times that's the most important card, or the type of card that can take you from an okay draw to a good one, find the stuff you need, make sure you keep hitting your land drops, etc. Yeah, one for ones like Opt are fine, but you know they do lose a little bit of utility in these spots.
Yeah, Narset, a very, very nice card to bring out of the sideboard.
Totally.
Sam just
considering to consider
a mana source. I imagine that Logan will probably just fire off a Dispute here if Sam chooses to go for an iteration, given how the way this matchup plays out.
Yeah, this is the important card.
Yeah. I don't know if you're necessarily trying to protect something from resolving, right? You're just trying to make sure your opponent doesn't get ahead of you on cards.
I mean, they can do all the ops they want, right? It's cards like Expressive Iteration and Narset that actually get you ahead. Speaking of, by the way, there's Soul Guide Lantern from Sam Pardee, and now Expressive Iteration goes on the stack. Oh boy. 2 heavy hitters to the 4-mana cards here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have room for both, so he's going to settle for Crackling Drake, and the Arclight Phoenix is going to go to the bottom.
Yeah, and we ran into one Dispute now, so I wonder if Sam's just going to go ahead and run out this Narset. Does have the mana to also kill a Phoenix, so could choose to tick it down here, right? Because there is that fear if you play this on turn 3, for example. But has the access. Oh, and also has a Fry, which should cleanly deal with the Crackling Drake.
Wow. This plan from Sam Pardee's coming together quite nicely. He does need some way to actually kill Logan at some point, but that'll come. I don't know what it is.
There's a Hall of Storm Giants.
There you go, Hall of Storm Giants. win con acquired. That's all it takes. If you can completely take control of the game, you know, whatever's left over will do just fine.
Interestingly enough, the sizing of Hall of Storm Giants is perfect, right? Cannot unholy heat the Hall of Storm Giants.
Yeah, that's really nice. Nettles trying to decide how to proceed here with 8 cards in his hand. He still hasn't played a land this turn. That won't be an issue, but, you know, Crackling Drake could be on the menu. It looks like he's toying with the idea of a Dragon's Rage Channeler, perhaps.
And I don't think Sam has... Oh, Sam does have 1 Mystical Dispute in sideboard.
So annoying.
Could be something that Logan might be scared of.
Players love to put a 1-of a card like that somewhere in their 75 just to make the other player respect it.
Especially in an open deck format.
Yeah, that's where you know get the real value. Yeah. So Unholy Heat is going to hit Dragon's Rage Channeler. Now this is an opportunity for Logan to respond if he'd like. Looks like he's going to line up Unholy Heat on Narset in response. That basically means that Narset doesn't get any more cards for Sam.
Right. Now the static can still be pretty useful in this matchup. It means that you can't cast main phase ops or considers.
Right.
You will not be able to draw those cards. Still ways to, of course, play around it by casting it on your opponent's turn.
Mm-hmm. But remember, Logan's the one with Arclight Phoenix still in his library. Like,
right.
You know, getting those cards, I mean, you can still technically cast them, but
Look at all these planeswalkers here from Sam. I mean, just
oh yeah,
full-on blue-red control.
loving this. I like this plan here from Pardee. Logan deciding to keep that card in. Arclight Phoenix. Man, it could actually come in quite handy here. Is there still the Soul Guide Lantern? Yes, there is there for Sam Pardee.
It is in play. Now, remember, this Narset, it's on the board. It's annoying. But it looks like Logan just kind of wants to force the action. Gonna attack the Narset. Sam will protect it. And then if Logan ever gets into a situation where it'll come back, then Sam can just fire off that Soul Guide Lantern.
Sam didn't even let him attack. It's just like killing right now.
Is it Chandra time? It's one
It
mana
does
up.
look like
Play the
it.
land. You can play around Spell Pierce.
Yeah, play around Spell Pierce. That's right. The Mystical Dispute, not relevant in a situation like this. And there's Chandra Torch of Defiance on the battlefield for Sam Pardee. He's got Narset and Chandra. He's got his graveyard bases covered with Soul Guide Lantern. Yeah, his hand isn't amazing. He's got Opt and Fry, but totally fine.
Yeah, I'm curious if Logan has Delirium here. It looks
He
like
does.
he does,
He
right?
does,
So
yeah.
you can use that Unholy Heat to get the Chandra off the battlefield. Probably want to do that. You don't want the Chandra to allow Sam to get ahead on cards.
Yeah, it's just, you know, what is he going to throw into the Soul Guide Lantern, right? Like, is it Unholy Heat? With the Phoenix in the yard
Right.
still?
Yeah.
Right? Like, tough spot.
Could be one of those things where you lead off with a Consider,
Mm-hmm.
and then with the Arclight Phoenix trigger on the stack, you save the Unholy Heat, and when the Lantern goes off, then you use the Heat to kill the Chandra. Could be something to do. But you would need to string together some spells off this Consider to do that.
So
The
you need
other
to
option is,
do
hey, look,
3
I'm gonna.
spells?
The other option is, look, I'm just gonna activate Den of the Bugbear. I know about Fry. You have one other card in hand. Not that likely it's a removal spell, right?
Oh. Wow, that's really tempting.
And if you do that, you can use the Heat and guarantee that you'll kill the Chandra, right? You attack the Chandra down to 1 with the Den, then just finish it off with the Heat.
Hey, you've convinced me, Paul. And Logan must be thinking, so let's say there's one more burn spell. Let's say it's Fry burn spell in hand here for Sam. I mean, that is kind of a disaster for Logan, right? Like, all but one of his mana, he loses a land. Can he risk it? Can he do it? He wants
I think
to.
I like it. I mean, Sam's already fired off
Multiple
an Unholy Heat or
Heats.
two, right?
Yes. He's going for it. Den of the Bugbear is going to get fired up. You can tell Logan is not happy about this scenario. Let's see what Sam finds. This is good news here for Logan, and it's Otawara, Soaring City. That means Den of the Bugbear will survive.
Oh, and excuse me, you cannot string together spells. Always forget about Narset's nice little static ability. And actually, what Logan can do is attack, have the 1/1 attack Narset, Unholy Heat Chandra, and Sam will be left with nothing.
Yes. Like actual Fry in hand. Wow, that was huge for Logan Nettles. He was not liking this situation, but he's going to be loving it now. Now there's no point to even Soul Guide Lantern because it wouldn't matter anyway. Flame Blast. Oh, it was
And
the
there's
next
the
card.
bolt off the top.
That's the one that Sam needed off of that opt, but it was one card too low, and now we have a
just having
den fight.
a Den of the Bugbear fight here. I mean, he's got the removal spells, and now Logan, there's not the pressure of the Planeswalkers, can choose to play it a little slower here, right?
Right, he can go whatever pace he'd like. That's right. There's, again, only one unknown card here. You have to wonder what that Fry is going to hit if it's not Crackling Drake. Like if you're Logan.
Probably. Oh,
never
there's
mind.
a target.
There's an answer.
Yeah.
Ledger Shredder.
There's also a Brazen Borrower that you can just cast.
Mm-hmm. Because you
Kind
know
of
how
awkward.
it usually goes if the Crackling Drake's the last thing on the battlefield.
Right.
It's a 13 power or whatever. Cleans up the mess.
Logan just might be interested in forcing the Soul Guide Lantern here potentially, but doesn't find land number 3. Excuse me, spell number 3. could petty theft if he really wanted to.
That goblin token.
Yeah.
He's doing it.
And Sam could kill his creature in response
He could.
to
He's
prevent
thinking about it.
Brazen Borrower from being cast.
He's legitimate thinking about it, but he says, no, okay, you got it. And this is going to force the Soul Guide Lantern to eat up that Arclight Phoenix, but it's gone now. So resources for Sam Pardee are dwindling quickly here. Even that's gone. And then are we going to see Logan just play the Ledger Shredder post-combat, or does he want to hang on to it? Because it does count itself.
I mean, I do feel like you might be interested in drawing out that Fry, but you can do that with the Brazen Borrower too, right?
So just end step Brazen Borrower
just
here?
end step Borrower, and now Sam's just kind of out of resources, and he's going to try to race here, which is not... I mean, it is technically a 2-turn clock.
It is.
And he does have a couple of removal spells.
You know, he might be able to get the job done with... Feels like he's a bit mana crimped to get it done, but...
It would depend on how aggressive Logan gets with his creatures, I suppose.
I'll tell you, Logan generally doesn't... Like, he knows when to slow down, you know?
Like, wait, you have a 7/7. I'm at 7. Okay. I'm gonna...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that goblin stayed home this time.
Yeah, I mean, Brazen Borrower certainly attacks as it can block.
That's a freebie.
You know the Crackling Drake will likely die to Fry.
Mm-hmm.
Probably want to keep the token back, just because that gives you the option of double blocking Den of the Bugbear with both the Ledger Shredder and the token. Assuming Sam goes for the line of Fry your Crackling Drake, activate my Den of the Bugbear, and attack. Right,
or even just be able to...
what a draw.
What did he hit? Oh, Ox of Agonis? Oh, man.
He has the mana to do all of it. He has exactly 8 mana.
Okay. The one thing he can't do is activate his land to get in for lethal, but this is going to set him up for the next turn. Yeah, he'll live with it. He'll live with it.
I think he'll accept the 4/2 that draws him a couple cards.
All right, the Ledger Shredder is going to connive now. But we're going to see Consider in response here from Nettles. He finds an Unholy Heat. That is an answer to Den of the Bugbear, but not much else. He's going to take it, though. It also, of course, could get to Delirium, in which case it'll be an answer to almost everything.
The Shredder. Here's the Ox.
Wow, this is huge. 3 cards. Narset, Consider,
3 spells.
Yep. Oh, an Expressive Iteration now for Logan Nettles. Oh, boy, they are firing it off now.
It's so awkward to kill the Ox, right?
It is. I mean, Sam's graveyard must be 15 cards or something.
And Sam's still sitting at a pretty healthy 14 life here.
He is.
And you can't get too aggressive.
Sam is giving Logan a real sweat here for that day, too.
Right, and you can't get too aggressive because remember, at any point, Sam does have that Hall of the Storm Giants in play.
Just get the old one-shot.
So if Logan is not interested in killing the Ox, probably just have to go double land here off the iteration. This is a tough choice here.
Very tough for Logan. He's got to be thinking, it's never easy. Why is it never easy? You know, just...
You got to fight for it. You got to work for it.
Absolutely. He knows that.
Probably wants... Okay, so it looks like he wants a spell here. He does get a Connive here for the Ledger Shredder. Wants to find some extra action. Does not find it. So now Sam, next turn, I mean... So many resources.
Yeah, Logan shook his head. He does not like missing here. He knows that there's 3 fresh cards in hand for Sam Pardee, plus another one off of the draw step. He doesn't know what they are.
Right.
But not a lot of good news there.
Okay. Oh, this.
So now a burn spell would be enough to just kill him?
Right. I don't think Sam's going to go for that. I think Sam's just interested in completely unloading the contents of his hand. Having to Narset in play prevents Logan from drawing cards with the Connive ability on Ledger Shredder. Finds a removal spell.
Yeah, he could just kill it now if he wants to. And there's a Channeler. Here's Unholy Heat. That will finish off Narset.
And Sam has the ability to kill the Shredder here too if he wants.
He's considering responding.
Might want to save it for the Den of the Bugbear.
Okay, there's an Arclight
Okay.
Phoenix. He doesn't have any spells though. Like, does he just need to keep it in hand?
I think I think that Arclight Phoenix is reserved as a Snare Thopter.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now with the Dragon's Rage Channeler on the battlefield, he's going to fire off his Unholy Heat on the Ledger Shredder to make sure he gets that Surveil ability.
Okay.
And he's using it because cards are hitting the graveyard quickly, and that Ox of Agonis is looking real frisky.
Yeah, if Logan, if he can find a graveyard hate card here,
oh, it's such a blowout.
it'd be so big. A way to get that Ox off the battlefield.
Oh
Okay,
boy, he gets to see a lot of cards with Faceless Looting. Shredder, or consider he's going to keep the Shredder, and he sees the Soul Guide Lantern and two graveyard-centric cards for him as well. Now he doesn't get to...
Is that enough, though? I mean, Logan gets a 3/2. He can play the Demolish too. Wow.
He can Faithless Looting, and that would be enough for the Phoenix, right?
Right. You can Faithless Looting. That also reduces the cost of the Demolish.
Oh man. Yeah. So he can actually do it all. He can Faithless Looting for 3, Demolish is 1, and then still have Soul Guide Lantern and the mana.
Yeah, and this grabbing that Ox so big.
Is there anything else in the yard that he cares about?
I don't think so.
Like,
and remember, Sam doesn't have any Phoenixes.
Off of the Lantern. Yeah, because Sam took him out. Strangle for the Dragon's Rage Channeler. This is getting very interesting. Oh, he's got to discard 2 of these?
You know it pains Logan to have to discard Expressive Iteration, right?
Definitely. Especially at this stage.
Right. But look, you're going to be able to go Strangle and then play a free Demolish, so can't be too sad.
He's still sad, Paul. I know it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure chat's sad as well.
Value travesty for Logan.
Now that was a turn here from Logan. I mean, he had nothing.
Seriously, look at what he's got now. And Sam Pardee's like, okay, buddy, you're doing it.
Now Logan has to be careful here, as Demolish has lots of text on it, one of which allows you to cast spells out of your graveyard if it attacks.
That's right. So he needs to keep the good stuff there. Okay, so life total's 13-7. Logan up a game. He's shaking his head. Sam is straightening himself up in the chair. Both of these players are deep into an awesome mirror match. This is game number 2, by the way.
And one thing to keep track of here, might not get to it, but it could be relevant, is you do see Logan's clock now. So if Sam is able to pull this game off in 5, 6, 7 more turns, that could be a relevant factor.
Definitely. Under 10 minutes now for Logan Nettles. But it's not his clock that's going down right now. It's Sam Pardee's as he really ponders out this turn.
Yeah, so you have the option of activating Hall, but that just wastes your entire turn. And Logan has chump blockers. Probably not something you want to do. You can go Ledger Shredder into Abrade.
Mm-hmm.
Abrade the Arclight Phoenix and hope to hit actual spells. That's good.
Which he did.
Okay, so 50-50, but it got to pump at least once on the Ledger Shredder.
And he's getting in there. Down to 5 goes Logan, who finds, oh no, Mystical Dispute?
That's not going to be good. And remember, Sam's very close to lethal here. Got 2 flying 2/4s. Logan is not close to getting Arclight Phoenix out of the graveyard.
What can Demilich play? Unholy Heat.
Unholy Heat. You have to imagine that Logan Nettles has Delirium here.
He's got 5. He's actually got 5 types right now.
Okay.
So even if there's one Unholy Heat and it's the only instant, then he'll still be okay.
Yeah. Expressive Iteration would be the other option.
Boy. That's got to be tempting as well. If Unholy Heat lets you survive for a turn but then die the next turn, that's not really getting you where you need to go.
Getting aggressive here. Probably keeping the token back, given the Hall of Storm Giants.
So
Sam can draw a removal spell.
So this means he's locked into Unholy Heat, though, to kill the 2/4. Okay.
Yeah, he's going to target the Ledger Shredder here. This is going to be an attack for 8. Get Sam down to 5. If Sam can draw a 1-mana removal spell,
he can get
the token off the battlefield. That's not going to do it.
Oh my God, this is so crazy from Logan. He's like, all right, we're going for it. And he's got Sam down to 5 now. And Sam passes a turn back.
And that means we're getting more value here with Demolish.
Faithless
Looting. You could see an Arclight Phoenix come back into play here. Pitch the Channeler, pitch the Dispute, hit an Opt, hope to hit something. Oh, excuse me. You don't even need to hope. You can just flash back the Faithless Looting.
Yeah. He's cast 1 spell this turn. It's Faithless Looting. It's on the stack.
Big turn here. Take your time, Logan.
Yeah, now that 7 minutes looks like a long time rather than what it looked like a minute ago. There's Ledger
Sam
Shredder
does get a draw
here.
here.
He does.
Oh.
So Kenzan Crucible of Defiance.
So that puts some chump blockers into play.
Are those blockers relevant? Right. And there's Expressive Iteration for Nettles. Oh, man, this game's been awesome.
Oh, man.
He keeps looking at his library because he doesn't have that many cards left. So he actually has a decent idea of what's in those chunks of cards because he knows like the bottom 5 or 6.
Right.
He knows his list. He knows what he's drawn.
Yeah, and he can even pitch away, or he can just cast the Ox.
Mm-hmm. He has no cards in hand.
Right. Oh, you can also pitch it and then escape it as well. Likely discarding it here.
True. He's got 11 cards left in his library, so he'll know all of them.
Jeez.
At some point.
All right. Here's the Ox. Just make sure you have Delirium still. I wonder if Sam can somehow utilize the Sokin Zan
to survive a turn and then steal it on the crackback?
Find some way to steal it, yeah. Ooh.
Oh boy. So there's no mana here though for Logan. So Sam has perfect info. Right.
Yeah, so if Logan attacks with everything.
He passed.
He passed, playing it safe.
Logan Nettles, man. He never gets impatient.
Right? I will kill you next turn, friend.
What a great play from Logan. And he didn't even think about it. He's just like, no chance.
And he's going to be excited when this happens just because it's like, look, I didn't put myself in a position where I can somehow die.
Exactly.
Now Sam's in a lot of trouble.
Sam has to pass the turn back, but there's Arclight Phoenix. There's also Brazen Borrower that can petty theft away a blocker here. And that's a lot of pressure coming across.
Yeah, you almost might want to just consider starting with petty theft on the Ledger Shredder. Give Sam maybe less draws.
Yeah.
With the Connive.
Well, also he knows all 7 of his cards, so he kind of has a doomsday pile here where he can like say this is the best I've got, right? Like, because he can get into those cards with the Ledger Shredder and the Faithless Looting. So this is one of those situations that I think really favors players like Logan who are going to sit here and think through every iteration. He's pretty all in on winning this game, like with 5.5 minutes or just under 6 minutes left on the clock. But he seems to have the tools to do it.
And he's going to. He is
incredible. And there's the Unholy Heat. And now he can use Petty Theft to take out one of the blockers. There is a creature land available for Sam he can choose, but that's going to be it. Logan Nettles gets the job done and keeps his World Championship dream alive.